seems this theater, named after a very special Latin American singer, was deceptive to us and we could not find it. Maybe you had better luck than I did.
Only barely.
Sean Schemmel told me this panel room is like epic and awesome, and I have to agree with him. This is really nice. The acoustics are beautiful. And now, I am microphoned. Hi, I'm Christopher Sabat, and I am totally on time for this panel. I am the voice of Vegeta, Piccolo, Yamcha, Mr. Popo, Kami, all the dragons, Gaz, Mez, Jace, Raccoon, Berther, Zarbon, Icarus, the monkey, Bubbles, and various other screaming people in Dragon Ball Z. That is what I am most known for. My favorite character, of course, is Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans. He is the most important character in my life because I think A, he has the best story of anyone in the series. He has the best backstory of anyone in the series. He's had the most change of anyone in the series because, quite frankly, Goku is just a hero with a head injury who happens to be nice. That's it. That's all Goku is. He has not, like, that's his only redeeming quality, is that he hit himself on the head as a child, and that's why he's nice? Whatever. Vegeta's had to go through so much, and yet he gets robbed by Akira Toriyama again and again and again and again. It's really like, I don't know if any of you have read Ayn Rand or Fountainhead or anything like that, but he...
Ayn Rand.
Yes, you're welcome. We're in Texas, okay? I ain't one of them fancy college campus places where they say their name all funny sounding. Ayn Rand's name is a dirty word in your mind?
No, not in my mind. Like, at college, it really is.
Yeah. Well, the point is, Vegeta's story is much like Fountainhead, because everything he tries to do, he fails at the very last moment. Doesn't matter how much he accomplishes, he always ends up failing ultimately in the end. So what's the point? But he still keeps doing it for whatever reason. So we can all learn from that. Even though we know that in the end we will all be failures, we just keep trying. And be friends with the people you hate the most, because they're always going to be better than you. I hope we're all learning things today. That's what I'd like to imagine. Yeah, he's such a good, Vegeta to me is such an amazing character, and he's such an important part of my life because I started recording the show in 1998 back in Dallas, Texas. Actually, it was in, like, not even Dallas, Texas. It was in, what was it called? North Richland Hills, Texas, which is closer to Fort Worth. And it was in this crappy bank building, and when I was first hired, and I was going to the University of North Texas studying Ayn Rand, and I got this page on my beeper. Any of you out here owned a beeper before? Any of you owned a pager? Okay, you did. You did. We're all pointing at our parents right now. And you did because you were on parole for something, I understand. Yeah, that was this huge piece of device that's probably larger than your iPhone is right now. And if somebody could call it and it would buzz at you and you had to look at the number and trying to remember who it was and then find a payphone somewhere and call it back. Well, I got a beep or a page from somebody, and I went and called. It was a friend of mine said, hey, you know, I work on this, that Japanese show I was telling you about. I'm like, yeah, I've always wanted to see all the footage you cut out of it. And she said, you should come out, we're having auditions, and we're looking for people to, like, be actors on it. I go, cool, that sounds great. So I go out there, and it's this dumpy building, in this bank building. There's like, it's not a recording studio. It's more like some sort of, it looks like some sort of weird, futuristic meth laboratory. And by futuristic, I mean a toaster plugged into a TV that was plugged into like a microwave that was plugged into some computer that had some horrible microphone attached to it, and then I started doing some work there. And I didn't know what Dragon Ball Z was in 1998, and of course in 1998 there was no such thing as the internet, really. There kind of was, but it's nothing like the internet is today. Like back in 1998, there was no Wikipedia, there was no fan sites, and if they were fan sites, they were like, there was no Google to find them on practically. And if you wanted to find a picture, you could download a picture of Vegeta or whatever, if you could find it, and then you'd have to wait overnight as it would go and then you realize it's not Vegeta, it's a picture of a cat or something, and then you have to start over the next night. Needless to say, I didn't have all the information, so I didn't even know where Dragon Ball Z was going. I didn't know the whole story. Funimation didn't have a lot of resources back then, and the Japanese really weren't working very closely with them to make sure they had everything they needed. In fact, so much so that they couldn't get the materials for the original Dragon Ball Z episodes. They ended up waiting so long for the Japanese to give them the materials for Dragon Ball Z that they went and they had to talk to the people who did the Spanish dub of Dragon Ball in Mexico. And so the original, everyone goes, were you ever inspired by the original Japanese voice actors? I'm like, not really, because I didn't know what they sounded like. If we listened to, like, we dubbed it silently. We never heard what the original was. And if we ever did hear it, it was always like, Kamehameha, Kamehameha, Goku. And sorry, I am very close to Mexico here, and I probably offended half of you. You're welcome. So the 51% of you actually. It was crazy. So the only thing I learned about Dragon Ball from the original material is that Chi-Chi's name was very inappropriate in Spanish, and they changed it to Milk, which milk, I guess, or something. I don't speak Spanish. My daughter does. I have her in immersion school called Spanish Schoolhouse, and they speak only in Spanish. And then she comes home, and I still don't know how to talk to her, but I feel like I'm doing a good thing. Anyway, yeah, I finally find out they're like, oh, you're on this show called Dragon Balls. I go, all right. They said, here's your first assignment. Take home this trash bag and watch all the stuff that's in here. And it was just a trash bag of videotapes. It's just like old, unmarked, crappy videotapes, and they all had episode numbers on them. And so I had to start watching them one by one. And I got about halfway through, like, Gohan training in the woods. I'm like, is this all the show is going to be about? It's about this kid training in the woods for 15 to 20 hours worth of my time. But I kept watching to finally catch up to where they were, which was around the Ginyu saga, sort of like when the Ginyus were in, where Jace and Berter, and I guess right around, the first episode I worked on for the most part was the episode where Goku shows up, because he always likes to leave his friends in mortal danger for a really long time before he actually does anything about it. And he's just kicked Raccoon's butt. He's holding him over his head. He's got like Raccoon has like a hole in his booty area or something like that. That my friend was actually responsible for painting out frame by frame by frame. That's how I got onto the show, because her job was a rotoscoper to go through and turn Master Roshi's beer into like grape juice, or to turn the hell that was on their shirts in Otherworld, like in hell, to HFIL, the home for infinite losers, if you know what I mean. We're learning today, we're learning. But anyway, I'm just gonna keep rambling if you guys don't stop me. So after Dragon Ball, I worked on, let's see, the next show I worked on was Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm glad you guys like that show, because Kumar has a sword. And he has the best attack names ever. Sword get longer! Perfect. Perfect. I'm sorry? Why aren't they continuing that anime? I think they forgot about it. I think they just said, no, it was fine the way it was. I think that back in those days, they were lucky if they could even get their episodes on video cassettes. So I don't think they anticipated the future of being able to watch everything on your computer. It would be nice, though, if they would continue it, or if they would reboot it, or even reanimate the whole darn thing. Would be really nice. I think a Yu Yu Hakusho Kai would be really fun. And I do know that it would be handled perfectly, because the guy who basically is in charge of the entire production department, his name is Justin Cook, and he was the voice of Yusuke, or as I would call him, Yusaki Urameshi. And so he was also voice director for Yu Yu Hakusho, so if they ever do reboot it, it will definitely be in really good hands. There's no excuse for lateness in this panel. No excuse. No, I'm kidding. I was 25 minutes late to my own panel too, so I really can't make fun of you at all.
That's right.
Do you guys have any probing questions? Probing.
Can you still do that famous quote from Vegeta? It's over 9,000.
Well, you just ruined it. You spoiled it for everybody. You just said it. Now it'll be weird. It's like I'm copying someone else doing it. Which is exactly what I would be doing, because the over 9,000 thing, as you know, is Brian Drummond, the guy who's in the Canadian cast. Except so many people have asked me to say it that I've just like kind of basically given up even trying to explain that to anybody. Because they'll still go, all right, yeah, okay, so it was a different guy. Still say it though, because you're Vegeta. Still say the catchphrase anyway. I'll say it at some point, but probably not right now. It's harder to say on command than when I just ran it. Whoa! Hey! It's over 9,000! Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, there you go. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you. And I'm sorry if I embarrassed you, whoever was just walking in. Yes?
So when Resurrection Death came out, you and Sean, you guys did a little like sketch scene where you were doing your voices for Goku, Vegeta. You were like nice scene.
Oh, yeah.
So there's some scenes you guys wanted to do where you're able to do anything to try.
Well, we didn't. There were, I think, a few of them we did that I don't know if they did make the final cut, but that wasn't anything we came up with, or Funimation even came up with. We were at the Nerdist headquarters in California because we were promoting the Resurrection F movie, and we went to their office and they just said, "This is what we're doing today." And I'll be honest, it was a touch stressful, because normally when you're dubbing over stuff, you have a script and it's time coded, and they tell you, kind of like give you tones in your ears to when stuff is going to happen. You don't normally just stand in front of it, and you normally have headphones on so you can kind of hear yourself and then hear the original. They're just like, "Yeah, we're going to do this today. Here's a laptop. You guys let's crowd around it. Just repeat what you hear." I'm like, "Really? Is that okay? That's how we're doing it." It ended up turning out really funny though.
It was hilarious. I think it would be really funny if you had done like the end of the Superbad movie, at the end when the two characters like spending the night at one of their houses and like, "Oh, you're my best friend. Oh, I love you." I can just imagine like Vegeta doing like the boom boom like on Goku's nose. That would have been a hilarious thing to do.
What I think we need to do is I need to start polling people online to ask if we were going to do some of those what scenes would people want us to do.
Please make it happen.
Because if they don't make us do it, I might have to just like do it myself.
Go to Vegeta YouTube page or something. That would be great.
Let's see, what else? Hi, rowers. I am so glad that I never have to say the name of my own character very often in One Piece. Roro no Zoro. And Mike McFarlane, the director, insists on people saying Roro no Zoro. And it's very hard to say because it's like 3 different ways that the letter O can sound. Roro no Zoro. Anyway, I just want to say Ro no Zoro. Yes, what is your question?
Working on Boku no Hero Academia with your All Might characters.
Yes.
Have you gone to like styles? What's that like?
She's mentioning My Hero Academia. How many of you guys have seen that yet? It's so good. It is so good, guys. It is so good. And I'm not saying that because I'm being paid to say that, because I am not being paid to say that. I'm barely even being paid to voice on it. It is just such an amazing show, though. Like, I have not watched an anime that's been so, especially a shonen type anime that has started off so perfectly with such beautiful animation. And what she's talking about, and I can give you this with no spoilers, it's technically about a kid who is living in a hypothetical present time, with the internet and everything like that. Imagine it was just today, except a hypothetical world where everybody has superpowers, and you develop them when you hit puberty or something like that. Just like growing up, like, oh, he's turning 12, it's about time to see what his superpower is going to be, and you might inherit it from your parents or whatever. You might have a combination of their techniques. And this kid, in the first episode, it's his time to find out around that time, and he is super excited because more than anyone else, he's excited to get his superpowers because he is a superpower otaku. Like, he is obsessed with superpowers. He knows every single superhero. He knows every single one of their powers because in this time, since superheroes are common, supervillains are also common. So there are certain superheroes that are so famous that they either work for the government and are supported by the government, like given a grant to just be a superhero all day and just fight off villains. And there's also nefarious people. And then there's just people who just kind of are regular whatever. Some people can just microwave things with their hands and they don't ever use it. It's just like you get like a little bit of a power. Well, this kid is so excited to find out what it is. Not going to tell you what the result of that is, but I can tell you for a very long story like this, something bad probably happens. And he is one of the people he's obsessed with is this guy named All Might, and it's a character I play. And All Might is the world's most famous superhero. He's huge. He actually is drawn like a Western comic book character, which is really weird for anime. He looks like he's straight out of an American comic book. And he's like has this very, very big, broad character, very similar to like Alex Louis Armstrong in Full Metal Alchemist. Are you familiar with that show? Yeah. He's the character that most reminds me of that character, of all the characters I play. And he's huge and he's awesome. And this guy and this kid have an interesting kind of connection in this series. I've been so dang vague about it, but it's awesome. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. So one thing about my character is that he kind of has two forms. One where he's super buffed up and insane, and then another form where he's kind of not all buffed up. And so I do two different voices kind of for his character. One that's the big buffed up character is the character he puts on for show, and the kind of the weak version is the version that nobody gets to see. And so the weak version is really the harder voice for me to do because the big showy version, that's easy. It's like it's so much fun, and it's when he's not super pumped up that it's more difficult for me. But it's such an amazing show. Thanks for your question on that. Yes, I'll get these front row people so they don't hurt their arms.
If you could go, if for whatever reason someone came to you and says we're redubbing X, Y, Z movie, like an older movie, animated or otherwise, in that fantasy, what character from a past film would you want to redo the voice?
If I had the ability to, I would go back in time and like poison. What is this? Oh, I just went. Of course, I had it. The minute I thought of his name, now it disappeared. The guy who plays Solid Snake for all those years, David Hayter, right? I would just sneak in and like poison his coffee or whatever there, and just happen to be there for his first session. Go, oh, he didn't show up. Okay, I'll do Solid Snake. Not because I think he did a bad job at all. He was outstanding as Solid Snake, and I'm just as angry as some of you that they felt the need to kind of replace his voice on the new games. But yeah, that's one character I would love to have kind of had gotten an opportunity to play because I loved all of the Metal Gear games. I think that's my final answer. Yeah. And how about you?
What are some vocal techniques or things you do to prevent yourself from losing or harming your voice while that's screaming?
Nothing really. Like there's a lot of people that have a lot of superstitions about what to do and not to do. I just try and get a decent night's sleep the night before I know I'm gonna have to do anything loud. I drink a lot of water, and I don't know, I've always had this weird ability, even through all the Dragon Ball stuff and all the epic screaming that I had to do, I never fully lost my voice. I think it might have had to do with the fact that I was an opera major. I was a singer when I was younger, so I did have a lot of vocal training. So maybe I somehow inadvertently used those techniques. But definitely knowing what your limits are and trying not to push them too hard. And if you feel like if you're starting to feel blood, you should probably tell them to stop the session, which is not necessarily uncommon, guys. Like if you will sometimes, like I've torn my vocal cords a couple of times, or at least bruised them pretty badly, and you can start feeling your insides coming out. But yeah, I basically just tell people to be careful about how they do it. Some people are good at it, some people don't. I also believe that the good thing about Dragon Ball is it allowed us to scream really loudly. And if you use your full voice, you're actually less likely to hurt yourself than if you try and hold back some. Because then the sound of your voice comes from your stomach, and you're using full support rather than trying to pinch it off. It all comes from kind of up in this area here, and then you're more likely to hurt yourself. Yes, you. Oh wait, no, I asked you a question earlier. Yes, you in the hat, you in the hat.
I know yesterday when I was talking to Gene Schimmel, he said that he was most proud of the work in the Resurrection app, and he said that he felt that your voice was so good in it, but like, when you do your voices and stuff, do you feel like, you know...
Well, I can form a question out of that to some degree. Like, I loved the new movies, and I loved the opportunity, and I love the idea that Super might be right around the corner. I'm very excited because it's given us, we've always been doing these voices, we've been doing these voices for years, and Dragon Ball Z Kai was a great opportunity for us to go back and redo some of the stuff that we just didn't do right the first time. That also gave us another, basically, exercise in those characters to better understand them. And Dragon Ball Z Kai, I will tell you, by comparison to Dragon Ball Z, is an infinitely better story than Dragon Ball Z, because it's infinitely more accurate. If you want to know what Dragon Ball Z is truly about, like what Akira Toriyama, the creator, really was trying to say, watch Dragon Ball Z Kai. If you just want to be reminded of what you thought was awesome when you were younger, and you want to just remember, cats love food, yeah, watch the original. I mean, for nostalgic purposes, Dragon Ball Z is awesome. For all of its weirdness and all of its craziness, I mean, it was just... But it was also kind of awful. I mean, you guys realize that, right? Like, you all know that some of that dub, at least, especially the earlier stuff, was just terrible. It was some of the worst dubbing ever. But we didn't have a lot of materials, and we had really crappy equipment, and we had Funimation didn't have any money, so they really weren't paying actors that much. So we couldn't just go to agencies and say, "Send us your finest people." Instead, we had to do like rounds and rounds of auditions to find people who had decent voices, and then we had to kind of teach them how to do this as we were going along. So ultimately, Dragon Ball Z Kai was a way of us being able to go back and perfect the stuff that we didn't get right the first time. And then, when Battle of Gods and Resurrection F came out, we were trained. We knew these characters so well. We really knew what we were doing. And so the stress of recording those movies was insurmountable, knowing that it was going to be on a big screen and everyone was going to enjoy it. And since I'm the director, I actually put myself in a difficult position because I have to trust my own instincts about my own voice. And so, whereas I might do, 3 takes with Sean on something, I'll probably do about 10 takes on myself before my engineer finally goes, "Chris, you got it. It's fine. You've got to move on." So it's, that's what's stressful. I think the work that we did on the movies was fantastic. I was really excited. So, wow. Let's do you with the bun in your hair.
So, I know it's sort of the same category. How excited were you when you heard that they were going to do Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood and you get to play that character?
Oh, I was so excited about Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood because I knew there was a lot more Armstrong in it. And there was Armstrong's sister in it, and there was Epic Brofist in it, and so I loved the reboot of Fullmetal Alchemist. This is a saying of lines at conventions that's been passed down the Armstrong line for generations. Which, by the way, if you guys get to meet Todd Habercorn at some point, who all of you know, you should ask Todd to do his impression of Alex Louis Armstrong, because he doesn't know that show at all. He wasn't really around during the recording of the original Full Metal, so he didn't get a major role in that show. But he talks to me about it all the time. He goes, "So your character's name was what?" Armstrong. And he'll come to me and goes, "How about this?" He goes, "The Armstrong line for millennia." I'll go, "No, it's for generations." "Darn it, I'll try next time." So he always tries to do his best Alex Louis Armstrong impression. It's really funny. Other questions? I actually have since I screwed up and got lost at the same time, I've got about 9 minutes left before we got to cut this off. So we'll ask all the questions quickly. Yes? I could actually tell you the best way to hear what I would sound like as Solid Snake. They actually did a death battle between Solid Snake and, what was his name? Sam Fisher from watch that because that's my best impression of David Hayter from Solid Snake. Yes. When I first heard that they're bringing back Frieza, I was kind of, I was a little bit like, okay. I mean, didn't we get rid of that character after like 60 episodes a long time ago? Could you not think of anybody new to bring back? Like, is there no new story out there? But the way they handled it was pretty cool. It was pretty fun. It was definitely on the nose. I liked that Vegeta, you know, almost had an amazing moment. Like, he had an amazing moment and they got it robbed from him. And quite frankly, I think if I had written that story or I was in the story room for that, or I was anyone involved, I would say, okay, sure, do your little time do-over thing, which makes everything irrelevant, but at least get Vegeta to come in and go, wait, what did you guys do? Okay, then do it over again! And then they do it over again. It's sort of like 5 seconds, and then Frieza goes, you little, and then he goes, sorry. I would have asked him to do it again. And between the Dragon Balls and temporal do-overs, nothing matters in their world at all. Like, because Dragon Balls, I always thought it'd be a really funny idea to have a really dark, a dark comedic spin-off of Gohan when he's older, just like bringing Pan back to life over and over again, and bringing Videl back to life again and again and again. He won't, and finally someone has to go, look dude, you just gotta let her go. I mean, it's just time. You guys are old, you need to let her go. Let her, let her go, Gohan. And then he goes and he cries to Piccolo. He's like, I don't know what to do, I'm just a babysitter. Yes, in the middle.
What are your thoughts on your relationship or Vegeta's relationship with Bulma in the Battle of Gods?
I think it was awesome that they finally acknowledged Vegeta's relationship with Bulma in Battle of Gods. And there was a moment where I really had to triple check the translation, because in the line, the line in the original says, the line in the script said, it had an alternate. It says, how dare you touch my Bulma, and then how dare you touch my wife, or something. But I needed to know for sure which one it was, because the translation wasn't 100% clear, and we never acknowledged in Dragon Ball Z that they were ever married, and I never heard of a marriage ceremony. So it's like, when did they get married, and why haven't they talked about this? So, looking at the translation and looking at the script, I thought it would make more sense to say my Bulma instead of my wife. So, because my Bulma implies like I love her, but it doesn't necessarily commit to, you know, a prenuptial agreement and having to go through like custody battles over Trunks or whatever, if in the case they were ever to separate. Yes, yeah.
Okay, earlier you said that you're an opera major.
Yes.
Have you done any kind of singing in any of your
I only sing as a joke now, because I was an opera major because they gave me a scholarship, not because I wanted to do it. In fact, I got there, I was like, oh my God, this is I am never going to do this. Like, I have a lot of respect for opera and opera singers, but I realized I was not one, because my voice coach was like, all right, here are the things we're gonna need to do. And my voice teacher was a deep-voiced woman, not Tim Gunn or whoever I'm doing impression. Here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna just don't drink a lot, and don't smoke any cigarettes, and don't stay out late. I'm like, you've just named the 3 things I want to do in college. Like, how am I supposed to do that? So I realized very quickly that's not what I wanted to do. So I switched to radio, television, film, and then I got my page. Yes. Yeah, in the back. Sorry. Then I'll go to you. My reaction is, what? I didn't hear about that yet because I'm not watching it. I'm joking. I'm happy that they were starting to bring a lot of these characters into the series. And how many of you have read the manga for the Galactic Patrolman? Have you guys ever seen that before? Do you know that in Resurrection F they just introduced this Jocko character, this dude who's like joking around with Krillin because they're the same height and they're both bald? He has his own, Akira Toriyama, Jocko, who who's just like, he's this guy, he's a space patrolman, but he's actually extremely lazy and doesn't really want to do anything. And he lands on an island, or he crash lands on an island, and there's this old man living there, and I think that old man is actually, he's related to Bulma. He's like Bulma's sister's father or something like that. Anyway, so there you go, sorry. In front of him, yeah.
What was your favorite and worst part of being Vegeta?
My favorite part of being Vegeta was just being Vegeta, because he's the best character in the show. My least favorite part of being Vegeta is being Vegeta, which means you have to scream your butt off for extended periods of time. You have to be angry about everything, and you leave the booth after a recording session kind of pissed off at everybody around you. Like, my wife literally knows when I record a Vegeta. So you recorded Vegeta today. I'm like, how can you tell? I'm like, sorry. Don't ask me about it. You stand in a booth for 4 hours screaming and filled with rage and jealousy and anger, and it has an effect on you. It has a weird effect on you. Try it. It's hard work. It's hard work. But the best thing about playing Vegeta is that it ultimately changed my whole life. Everything I've done on Dragon Ball, it's almost as if when I got that job on Dragon Ball, I found the Dragon Balls, and anything I could have ever wished for came true. Like, I'm here now, I travel all over the place, I've gotten to go all over the world, traveling and talking about the show, and now I'm getting to do it again, and hopefully Super will be out, and I'll be able to do that again, and it's just been this thing that just never stops giving. It's like this overflowing, like, vomit of Dragon Balls all over my entire life, and it just never stops. And anytime I think Dragon Ball's gone, the smoke clears and it's still standing there, and it's all like battle damage, just going, I'm still here, I'm ready to fight some more. So, we have time for one more question, and you guys are gonna have to do a battle royale to figure it out. And I'll go way to the back to figure out, yes. That's not a question, that's just a statement 3 times. No, he was very special to me. Coolbar was really special to me because he was the first character I played after Vegeta and Piccolo and Yamcha, Mr. Popo and Kami and all the Dragon Ball crap, and I was totally sick of recording Dragon Ball at that time. So then Coolbar came along, and it was totally fresh and new, and I got to work with a really good friend of mine as a director on it. It was amazing! No, he seriously was, he was a very special character for me because at that time we just worked on Dragon Ball, and they said, hey, Dragon Ball GT's here, would you like to direct that? And I said, no, I do not want to direct that. They go, like, why? I'm like, because I'm tired of it, I need a break, I need the hyperbolic time chamber for like 4 days or something before I work on any of this stuff again. So I skipped GT, and during that time I worked on a show called Blue Gender, which has a rich history of its own because it was the first anime that we actually got to record with all the proper sound effects and music, and we got to reference the Japanese beforehand. And it's how we record now. So thank you for bringing that up, and thank you all for being here. And if you have other questions, come by and ask me them. I'll be at my table for pretty much the rest of the day. And there's an epic Dragon Ball Z panel tonight, like at 8 o'clock, that has all of us on it, and it should be really fun. So, I'll see you soon, guys. You look like a bullfighter, by the way. Oh, Super Saiyan 4 casual. I like it.